Hello again. I thought I'd talk about a little bit, like I said before, I was going to talk a little bit about the Beatles on Parlophone, kind of try to see about what you can find on their UK versions. This is actually in addition to, I saw another YouTube video on this, which the guy is absolutely correct. I think it was O Bowman 123. Look up his videos. It's Do You Have a First Press Beatles UK album? So that is actually a very good YouTube video. I'm just going to kind of add some couple of my thoughts and my what I have, what other things to look for, not just the record, because he goes into the depth of it, which is absolutely correct. So first of all, I'd like to go into this. This is actually a very good companion to have when you buy or you're looking for first pressings of Beatles on the UK. This actually goes through a lot. It goes through the singles, it goes through the albums, it goes through all of it. And I'm going to be referenced back. I'm going to bring it back up here to kind of help me explain some of the things, because these things in the UK versions of these albums are kind of precise, and the concepts on them and the album covers and the labels. So we'll come back to this, but this is the book that you're going to want to have as your companion when you're going through this. So let's start first with a record that's not from the UK, like I was going to say I was going to go for, but this is actually a German pressing. This is My Bonnie. This came out, I had to have this because it actually says the Beat Brothers. You can't see it on this camera, but what it is this is their first single that came out in Germany. Now it's not the first, it's the first pressing, but it's the second label variation. It's kind of interesting because they came out with one, it's called My Bonnie, and under here it says Twist on my record, but the first one says Rock. And what that is when it came out, it actually had the German intro. So what happened was the German pressing of My Bonnie started getting really popular, so they started pressing some new vinyl, some new records, which is, this one is the English version of My Bonnie. So this one, I just had to have it because it says the Beat Brothers on it. So there's a whole, if you want to look it up, there's a lot of things online why they chose the Beat Brothers. There's a lot of what Pete Best was saying why. I won't go into it, but it's kind of interesting. But I just wanted to show you that this is their record. This one came out in 1962, the end of 1962, beginning of 1963. So it's a very good one to have in your collection. So let's go on to the next one, which is Love Me Do. Now this is an interesting record. There's a lot of information on it. There's a lot of people giving their opinions on what the first pressing is. So what you're gonna there's this one is their first pressing. It's Love Me Do. The backside has P.S. I Love You. What you want to see, what you want to take notice of is how the label is formed. How everything lies on the label. For instance, where the publishing credit, the Amor and Beechwood, where the location of the Love in Love Me Do over the Lennon and McCartney, those are the things you're going to want to see and pay attention to. Now I'm going to actually bring up the book again, so we can go through this. Now the first pressings of this, with this single came out, just to kind of give you, it came out on October 5th of 1962. The first pressings right here, it tells you right here, the placement of the Lennon and McCartney. The first pressings, what you want to see is the L over the L-E in Lennon. So the L in Love over the L-E in Lennon. That's signifying that it has the first variation of the Parlophone Love Me Do. Also, you're going to want to line up the X, when the matrix number here that's located on the record itself, you're going to want to look for that matrix number, but pay attention to the XC. It's got to be over it exactly, underneath the B. So the B up above it in the Admore and Beechwood, it's going to be directly above. It's in line. So it's kind of interesting how this is. because the next ones, the placement of the Lennon and McCartney, they kind of shift the Lennon and McCartney under Love Me Do to the left, so the L actually lies over the double N's. There's some in the publishing credits right here that they shift that to the left, so the B in Beechwood is like underneath the 7, or it could be over, it could be over the 7, or it could be over the CE. There's a lot of variations, but the first variation of the label, what you're going to want to pay attention to, look at, is the B over the XC in the publishing, the location of the publishing credit, over the matrix, the master. And also you're going to want to pay attention to the L over the LE in Lennon. So that's what you're going to want to see and take a look at. Also, on this, there's stampers. Now, hopefully I say his name correctly. I was trying to say his name right all day. It's Obimon 123. He goes through the matrix stampers, because you have the master stamper. When on the record itself, you have the master stamper, you have the mother, and then the pressing of that mother on the right, on the trail off. And what you're going to want to see, this number, pay attention to this number, pay attention to this stamper, and pay attention here, because it kind of gives you the different pressings, and it kind of goes into it. I'm not going to go into what he's saying, because you can actually do the link and look up his video. But this one is, just to kind of give you a background, the label variations it's the first like 1,000 pressings, or the first few thousand is this variation. So the stampers, the mothers, that is located here is 1P, and then if you flip it over, it's JR. Now he goes into about the gramophone, the different letters in gramophone. So, and they indicate like 1, 2, 3 of that same mother stamper. JR is actually considered journalistic review. So what happened is they made the first pressings of this, they made demo copies. So the first pressings, they left the JR stamper on. So this is actually a true first pressing. And then on the back of this, if you flip it over, which I don't, I have it framed, in the center of this play hole, you're going to find a tax code. And a lot of them have ZT, some of them have MPZT. The first variation that come with this label, you're going to want the C and is WOZT. So that's the first variation of this particular record, which it comes with the sleeve, the correct sleeve with this. So it's very, if you want me to go in detail, give you some information, I've got it listed in the book here. I can give you page number, references. You can take a look at it and see what you kind of think and kind of match it up with your copy. So let's go on. Obiman 123 goes in again to the pressings and the different label variations. Now this is what he showed, the gold version. This is Please Please Me. This is the gold version with the Dick James, and that is the first pressing of this record. I won't go into that as much, but I just wanted to kind of show you my copy of it. But what you're going to want to match up with that record is on the cover itself. This is the first pressing of Please Please Me. You're going to want to take your attention down to here, where the photo, where it lists the photo. It says photo by Agnes McBean. That is going to be on the first variations of this cover. It's going to be right close to the, like if you line it up, it's all about, that's the interesting, it's all about lining up with other things that are on the label or the cover. So if you line it up directly above, below the S, and it's on this side of the S, that's a first pressing of the cover. If it's on that side of the S, where it's touching the G when you line it up, that's the second variation and on forward. So that is what you're want to look, or what you want to kind of combine the two, the black and gold version with the first pressing of the first cover of Please Please Me. So we go on to with the Beatles. Now this is a cover that you're going to want to flip it over on the back. And when you flip it over on the back, because Obi-Wan goes through, this is the cover variation of With the Beatles. Now he goes through the label, which he's absolutely correct. You're going to want to take a look at the label, and it's going to have the Joe Beat. The information on it was incorrect. When they did this, on the bottom it says Joe Beat. Also, they mispronounced, or not mispronounced, but labeled the song You Really Got a Hold on Me. They put it You Really Got a Hold on Me. So that's not the name of the song. They shouldn't have that T there. So that's what you're going to want to see, and you're going to want to see it on the record, the cover itself. So you have a first pressing of With the Beatles. Right here it says on side 2, song 3, it says you really gotta hold on me. The later cover variations are going to say You Really Gotta Hold on Me. So that's kind of like it for this one. So, and the rarity of it, of course, is it's the first pressing of the record. So the next one is A Hard Day's Night. It's nothing. It's, you know, nothing too special. It's just, you know, you're gonna want to look for the master underneath on the bottom, and then you want to see the stampers. It's basically cut and dry. There's nothing different with the cover. Well, actually there is the mono variation up here, or the size of the stereo. This is when it was first pressed. The mono was the first. The size variation was the first pressing. So, and then on the next ones they shrunk it down. So you're gonna want to see this kind of variation with the mono, the size of it. So that's basically it. So let's go on to the next one. Next one is Beatles for Sale. So this is open this one up as well. There's actually a very, very interesting thing on the back of this cover that you're going to want to see, and how to tell if you have a first pressing cover. So we'll get this out of the way. Is this, of course, this is the back variation of this LP. What happened when they took this photo? They took the cover shot. Of course, it's coming from it. They're looking up, but what happened is it's two photos in one. They weren't standing in leaves because there's a lot of leaves back here. So they photoshopped it basically back in 1964. But what happened was they just laid the picture on top of each other. And if you look on the first variation cover, on the outline of the Beatles, it's very sharp. It's very crisp. So when you look really closely, you can't see it really on this camera, but if you look very, very closely, you're going to see that there's two different photos there. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So what happened is after they got this and they looked at it, they're like, well, let's go ahead and blur the lines a little bit. And this one on my other video, you can actually see, this is actually not a UK press, of course, this is from the United States, the early Beatles, but you can actually see it looks like a part of the photo. So they actually blurred the lines a little bit on this, so it makes it look like the Beatles are actually there, when this was the first pressing, and it makes it look like they're just put there. So that's what happened. So, I mean, I think you're going to want to see this, you're going to want to get this kind of variation, along with the variations in the label variation. So next we go to, let's go ahead and go to Rubber Soul. So not much, I'm just going to kind of go over what Obi-Wan went over. He just, you know what, you're going to take a look at the record, and on the record it's going to have the master. You're going to, for the highly collectible ones is the mono version that is called the Loud Cut. And on the bottom, where the master of the record, it's going to have -1 on both sides. That's the loud cut version, which is, when you play it, it really doesn't sound that great, but that's why, of course, they stopped it. And he was telling on his video that it jumped. I didn't know this. It actually jumped. It could jump the needle on there. So that's the collector version. So not the greatest quality of music, but it is the collector version, which is the first pressing of the mono variation. So now we're going to go to Revolver, and this is the remix version. What happened is when this was coming out, John Lennon said he didn't like the Tomorrow Never Knows version on the mono because they pressed mono versions first. They pressed those records first. So what happened was John Lennon did not like it, and he asked them to recall it, and which they did. Not recall it, but destroy the master and start and do the remix, the Remix 8 version. So what on the records that you're going to want to see, let me actually get it out here for you. You're going to want to see if you have it or not, is you're going to want to flip it over to the second side, and right here on the mono variations of this record, you're going to want to look for right here. This is the master, of course, what I was saying before. You're going to want to see if you have a -1. It's going to actually read X or Y, XEX 606-1, and that's going to be the mono, the Remix 11. But they destroyed theirs. There's not that many copies out there, so if you can get your hands on one, do it. So, and then of course he changed it. The only things that are different on the remix is there's kind of different little loops, and they're played a little bit different. And then you can hear the piano trail off really, really well. So that's the collector version of Revolver. So let's go ahead into the next one. And I want to add is Sgt. Pepper. Now he went over a little bit on this album on the Matrix, and he had some good examples on it. But I want to go over the cover variation. So I'm going to actually take this one out of the frame for you. And what you're going to want to do is flip it over on the back side of it. Now there's a lot of controversy, a lot of opinions about wide spine or thin spine. Some have a wide spine, which is really thick, but some of them have a thin spine, which this one is. Now I actually emailed Perry Cox and asked him, because there's a lot of controversy. There's not really clear-cut information. So what happened, what he told me is what you're going to want to see, what you're going to want to bring your attention, your eye to, is the bottom of the record, just like in Please Please Me, but on the back it's going to say was made by Garrett and Livehouse, patents pending. You're going to want to look for the patents pending part. Now what happened, and this is just my the information I gathered, was Ernest J. Day. There's two companies that made the Beatles sleeves. One of them is Ernest J. Day, and the other one is Garrett and Lofthouse. And what happened was the first one they contracted was Ernest J. Day, and that's on the back of the covers. Right here, it's going to be the same. It's going to say Ernest J. Day. But then the Beatles were getting so popular, so they started contracting it out to another company, which was Garrett and Lofthouse. Now they didn't have the patents, so every single one of their records, starting from the Please Please Me when they started doing it to Revolver, Garrett and Lofthouse have patents pending by their name. So what happened was, after Sgt. Pepper was made, they started printing a lot of them, and they had Garrett and Lofthouse patents pending. Then they found out that they won their patents, so then they cut off those patents pending, and those are the second variation covers. Now, if it's a wide spine or a thin spine, that I think is just by kind of maybe a different company within that company that made it. So, because some of them that have patents pending are wide spine, some of them that aren't patents pending have wide spine, some of them that are patents pending, like this one, are thin spine, some of them that are not patents pending have the thin spine. So it all depends. Perry Cox said what you're going to want to have the first pressing is patents pending. So, and the mono variation, which this totally makes sense to me, the mono variations, when they came out and they asked the Beatles, they had 4 different proofs. So the first 3 proofs failed. They never made the cover. The 4th proof they did. So what happened was they accidentally, if you opened up the cover, and on the top right side, there's going to have a fourth. Well, actually, you know what? Let me just get the book and I'll show you. Hold on here. I actually have the page right here. When you open it up, there's actually, it says fourth proof. You can't see it on this camera, but you open it up to where they're looking at you. You have the fourth proof on one side of the cover, and then you have AR, and then you have a number right over here. What happened was they made the proofs, and they accidentally realized on the first batch, maybe about, they say, I've read somewhere that it has like 30 or 40 of them. They did notice that error, and they said, oh, we got to take that off. And so they continued pressing after they made that error with the patents pending. See, here's a picture of the patents pending. So, and then what happened was Garrett and Lofthouse, they won their patents. Ernest J. Day, you don't see Ernest J. Day sleeves from Sgt. Pepper all the way to the end of Let It Be. You don't see those. It's because Garrett and Lofthouse, they won their patents. So they took the patents pending off, and they just have, right here, it just says Garrett and Lofthouse. So what you're going to want to get the first pressing, and and I understand the rarity of the spines. I think that's just like an oops. But what the first pressings, the true first pressings, and I even asked Perry Cox himself, he said that the first pressings have patents pending on the first batch of covers. Now the records are a little bit different. You're going to want to go to that, what I keep mentioning, Obiman 123. You're going to want to go to his and take a look at the masters and the master on the label, and you're going to want to see the stampers. So hopefully that clears up a little bit. The next one I want to go through is Magical Mystery Tour. This one's just the mono version. I mean, it's not like the album that I showed you last time. This one, they came out, the Beatles actually wanted to do an EP, which they only listed the songs. So it's actually kind of inferior to the album that came out in the States, but it's kind of cool to have as a small, the book's really small. They have it's the exact same thing, it's just the book is smaller and it's on EP. And then right here, just to kind of prove the point there, it still says printed and made by Garrett and Lofthouse. So that's the first pressing. This is a mono variation. It's kind of not in good condition, but it's the first pressing of Magical Mystery Tour. So now I was starting to collect these. I've been collecting the US version. I didn't think I was ever going to get the British versions of these albums because they are really expensive. But I started to collect these, and I'm really having fun. I don't have yet is a white album. I have to get a first pressing of a white album. I don't have the Yellow Submarine, but there are some different versions of that, and like I said, I'm going to redirect you. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. You just redirect to his website, or not his website, his YouTube video, because he actually goes through exactly what you're going to want to have on a first pressing of those copies of records. The last one is, I'm going to actually reiterate what he said, is just Abbey Road, which is right here. The first pressings of Abbey Road, same thing. I won't take this one out, but what he said was, you look over, there's going to be, the back of the cover, it's going to say Abbey Road and lists all the songs, and there's going to be an apple on this side, misaligned. So that's deeming the first pressing of the cover, and then of course on the label, it's not going to have Her Majesty on that variation. That's a first pressing of the record. So, but yeah, that's it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this little endeavor. I really enjoyed making these videos. I have to apologize for saying what you want to look for a lot, because I'm trying to make an informative video and do it in one take, so it's not too long for you guys if it's one of those, oh my gosh, I don't want to watch this because it's too long. So, but if you do want to see any other rare records, I do collect other rare records, like I have the Velvet Underground, the banana cover, the first pressing of it, where it has the big giant banana on the front of it. If you want to see anything like that, just let me know. Give me a comment. But otherwise, happy collecting and happy hunting.